Here's a quote from best-selling author Stephen L. Carter. I find it hard to think of myself as selling books. I don't even have a website. I want to sit and write, not sell. More information at his website, StephenCarterBooks.com, or friend him on Facebook where he posts 2 to 3 times a day. Oops. I am Evo Terra, and this is the Books and Beer Hangout.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Books and Beer. My name is Jeff Moriarty with Epub, and our topic tonight is Ebook Publishing with Kobo Writing Life. Our guest is Mark Lefebvre with Author Relations for Kobo. Mark, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you are drinking this fine evening.
Well, I am a writer, editor, and bookseller. I've been one for 20 years. I'm part of the Kobo Writing Life team at Kobo, and I get to hang out with authors all the time, and I'm delighted to hang out with you guys. And I'm drinking Church Key Northumberland Ale, which is from Campbellford, Ontario. It's in an old, it's brewed in an old church, actually, and it's quite a fine ale that I'm enjoying tonight.
Hold that bad boy up to the camera. I want to check out the label a little bit more.
A little bit. Can you see that a little bit better?
Yeah, very nice.
And so you can. I haven't been there yet, but you can go on a tour of the tiny church, or it used to be a church that it's in. Looks like a fun place to go.
Yeah. Well, this fine evening I have something I've never had before, even though I'm a big fan of all their other products, is a Goose Island IPA.
Good IPA.
That is, I have. Yeah.
Kind of figured it was. So, yeah, not quite a Bourbon County stout, but we can do.
You see the color. It's big. It's bad. Big Bad Baptist from Epic Brewing Company.
Oh, a personal favorite right there. However, that bad boy begs for a stogie like nobody's business.
Yeah, I might do that too. All right, enough of beers. Jeff?
Oh, yes, questions. I got all distracted by all the yummy beer here. So
that happens.
All right. So we know Kobo. It's an online bookstore, but it's really off the radar for a lot of people in the U.S. or non-Canadian authors that I talk to. Is that a misconception?
I think what happened, Kobo is just about 4 years old. It was born in Toronto in Canada. It was a spin-off of Canada's leading bookseller, probably similar to the way that Nook was a spin-off of Barnes & Noble, with the exception that Kobo did become its own separate company and was actually sold to Rakuten, which is a major company in Japan, last year. And Kobo, the strategy for Kobo is partnering with booksellers, partnering with prominent retailers in different regions. And one of the things that we had done originally is we had partnered with Borders. Well, didn't work out too well for Borders. But we've got an even better partner in the U.S. now, in the American Booksellers Association, which is basically thousands of independent bookstores across the U.S., and that partnership has been absolutely phenomenal. It's still quite young. We're still just in a matter of months since we've had that. But when Google turned their back on independent booksellers, we said we would love that opportunity. We did miss the opportunity the first time because Google had already signed a deal with them, so we didn't have that chance back then. But now that we have that, it's a fantastic relationship. So you can say we're back in the U.S.
So I think a lot of people aren't familiar with the reality. I mean, when they think ebook and ebook devices, they think all independent booksellers, hate everybody that makes an ebook, and really what they mean is Amazon when they really say that. But I don't think people know about the history of Google. But I'm really more concerned talking with you today about how you guys work with the independent booksellers around the country, or maybe even around the world. Tell us a little bit about how the process works.
So I think one of the mistakes that the Google had made was they gave retailers a chance to sell ebooks, but they basically gave them a way to drive all their customers to Google. And the partnership that Kobo has with them is, we gave them a device that they could sell in their store. We gave them accessories they could sell in their store, so they could actually put products in the customer's hands. I've been a bookseller for 20 years. I know the power of putting a product right in the customer's hands, and you have that fantastic relationship with your customers at an independent bookstore, and so you give them that. But then on top of that, the customer who signs up, every time they buy ebooks from Kobo, the bookstore gets credit for that sale. So the beautiful thing about that is the independent bookseller can actually now start recommending ebooks to their customers who want ebooks, and those customers can feel good knowing that they're not leaving the independent bookseller, but they're actually supporting the independent bookseller, because they may be traveling and they don't want to read the 600-page book. They want to try and take that on the plane. They'd rather read an ebook, but they want to do it in such a way that still supports the local bookstore. So it gives the customer the opportunity to try out ebooks and do things with ebooks, but also know that buying them is also supporting that, so that that independent bookseller can continue to be in that community, creating the cultural hub that it has always been.
Okay, so I know the answer to this, or I think I do. I'm always surprised when I preface myself with that, so I shouldn't do that. But in case people aren't familiar, Kobo, the Kobo Reader. So if somebody goes to an independent bookstore with which you have an agreement, do they have to buy a Kobo Reader, or can they read books that they buy there on any device?
Yeah, so Kobo uses the EPUB standard, meaning you can buy an EPUB from Kobo, and provided that the publisher hasn't put strict DRM on it, you can move that EPUB to any device that you want. Kobo started off with the philosophy that you should be able to read any ebook on any device at any time. We didn't even put out a reader at the beginning. We created free apps for all platforms like iOS, Android, BlackBerry, Mac, PC, and it wasn't until our customers demanded that they have a dedicated reader that we put out the first reader. We now have a family of devices. We have the Kobo Glo, probably one of the more popular ones right now, which is the e-ink device with the built-in light, so reading at night. The Kobo Touch, which was Wired Magazine's e-reader of the year for 2011. The Arc, which is an Android tablet, completely open Android tablet, and it is certified. And again, you can install apps from other readers on that tablet as well. It's that open. And you don't even need to own a device. If you want to, they exist, and for particular customers prefer. And the Kobo Mini, I think, which is the cute one that actually fits in your breast pocket or your purse or whatever, and still holds 1,000 books in its e-ink screen. So you have that flexibility to not buy a device, or to buy a device, or to read it on another platform.
All right, well, let's switch to the other side of the coin then, authors. I'm a big supporter of local businesses, and there's some great indie bookstores, here in Arizona I'm a big fan of. So great, I'm an author, I want to use this. What I expect from a partnership, or as an author putting my book out on Kobo? Is it just another marketplace, or what exactly do you provide?
Okay, so Kobo actually sells in about 200 countries around the world. A lot of authors, for example, who were popular, potentially in the U.S. Amazon, you have to recognize, does still have a significant market share in the U.S. But a lot of authors were coming to Kobo because they recognized that would give them opportunity to be exposed to customers around the world. The thing I think that we offer, which is really interesting for authors, is that chance to connect with the local bookseller, that chance for a local bookseller. So you guys are near Changing Hands is a prominent bookstore in your area, and the staff there, I mean, the book people, they love books, they love that. You have a relationship with the booksellers there because they're in your community and you're probably going there and you know them. Even if you don't have a print book available in the store, it doesn't mean they can't talk about your book to customers or recommend it, because they now have a way to branch beyond it. As a bookseller, having been a bookseller for a long time, one of the most frustrating things is when a local author came in with a book that maybe wasn't necessarily right for my store and I knew it wouldn't sell. You still felt bad taking it on consignment, knowing that they'd come back in 6 months and nobody would buy it. That's because there's a local thing, and you only have so much space on the shelves. So giving independent booksellers a chance to suddenly have access to millions of titles digitally means they can accept all of them because it doesn't take any space for them to talk about them. So they can say, you know, let's say, Jeff, for example, let's say you have 60 backlist titles and they have your most recent one in stock. They can then, you know, recommend, well, we have access to all of his books digitally. And so right now, if you wanted to purchase it, you could. So that it gives you a little bit of that exposure, some of the best of both worlds.
Do you have a way to connect authors with local bookstores that are using Kobo in your area? Like if I had a book published in Kobo, we're changing hands, getting alert, hey, this guy is in your area, to tighten that local connection, or no?
Well, that's one of the things that we've started to do since we discovered the greatness of the relationship. And so the team that I have working with me, I'm an author myself, and I self-publish, and I traditionally publish, so I understand authors, and my goal really is to help authors be successful. So one of the things that we're looking at is trying to develop a program to make it easy to bridge those relationships between authors and booksellers. In instances where we've been able to do that, and we haven't done it at any grand scale yet, we've sort of done it one by one, relationship by relationship, but we're looking at how we can use these introductory methods where we've connected people. What worked? How did it work? Was it good for the author? Was it good for the bookseller? Was it good for Kobo? And when it's good for all three, what can we do systematically to make this an easier process, so that everyone can win a lot sooner?
I think that'll really help out a lot with what most of the independent booksellers that I talk to aren't big fans of what's happening to what happens, in the book world, because everything's going to ebook world, what up my inventory, whatever. I think this could be a really good thing to help that. But there's one thing that might plague the problem of this, and that has to do with exclusivity. The big player in the marketplace, the elephant in the room, Amazon, they've got a deal when you publish with them electronically through their Kindle Select, through their the KDP platform. They would really like for you to become a Kindle Select, which makes you they have exclusivity for 90 days on your book. And when I say they want you to do that, oh boy, do they want you to do that. It's like every time you click, there's a 6-second ad that plays. Please put your book in Select. All right, maybe it's not that bad.
No, it feels like that. It's the candy display at the cash desk, right? And but it's levitated to your eye level all the time.
Right. Now, obviously, there are some short-term wins for that, but I'm curious, what's your perspective? Maybe not talking. I mean, obviously, you've got a position as the guy behind, the Kobo and at least author relations. But as an author and somebody independently, what do you think? Short-term games worth it, or are the long-term games always outweigh?
I'm a long-term game kind of guy. I've been a writer since the time you sat on a typewriter and I banged out a novel on an Underwood typewriter, and you had to actually mail things to publishers and wait 6 months for the privilege of your rejection. So I understand patience, which in this digital age is a little bit harder to keep that patience. I put my book up and a week later it hasn't sold. Oh, I'm done. I quit. It's a long-term game. It's a business. So I think exclusivity, so you're signing up for 90 days for a chance that if someone borrows it, you can get some money. Oh, and you can make your book free for 5 days if you want. And the free thing and the 99-cent thing kind of worked a couple years ago. It's starting to die off. So, we thought when we built Kobo Writing Life, we said, you want to make your book free? It's your book. You're in charge. You own the copyright. Make it free. It's your book. Go for it. If that's your business model, we don't think you're going to be in business for long if you just give away stuff. But if you have a strategy, like you're giving away the first book in a series, and you expect people to come back and buy the rest of them, then that's a strategy. That's a business. We respect that. We want to give you the ability to be flexible. I publish my own work on Amazon and make it available through Smashwords because I can't get to BNN from Canada without the bank account and the address and things like that. So I use Smashwords to get my stuff to Apple and Sony and BNN and Diesel and all these other places. My perspective as an author is that I wouldn't want to, for my book, I wouldn't want to send all my customers in the entire world to only go to one store to buy it when my customers may not be walking by that store or live in the neighborhood of that store. So if I'm trying to force everyone to buy stuff on a Kindle, for example, and those customers only ever read iBooks, or they only ever read on a Kobo, or they only ever read, through whatever, maybe my biggest fan is a reader who will never read on that platform. So I really try to encourage authors to keep as many options open as possible, but I do encourage them to experiment and see what works for them. For some people it works. For some people they like having customers on all platforms, which is really exciting. And I think the industry is better the more players that there are out there to give customers that ultimate choice.
We definitely agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. So, yes, spot on. Everywhere is better than one place, even when that one place sells a whole lot of books. Don't exclude that one place, but don't get rid of the other ones anyhow. So, well, Mark, thanks for being on the program with us today.
Thank you very much. It was great to be with you guys.
Hey, great big news out there, kids. We are changing. The Books and Beer Hangout is no longer going to be on Thursday nights. Why? Well, because there are really cool beer events that happen in Phoenix on Thursday nights, and I would like to go to some of them. So would Jeff, from what I hear, too. So we are moving, not this next week. There is no show at all next week, but we are moving to Monday nights. Our very first show will be on the 25th of March, still at 6 o'clock. If you're on the Pacific side of things, and 8 o'clock if you're on the Atlantic side of things that evening. Monday nights from now on, well, now in 2 weeks on. Anyhow, so show notes, by the way, you can get show notes, Mark's information about Kobo, all of that at booksandbeer.com. The Books and Beer Hangout is a production of ePublish Unum. We help authors survive and thrive in a digital world. For more information, education, classes, and all sorts of stuff, including the book that I just wrote, and pretty soon the one that Jeff's writing, you can find that at epublishunum.com. For Jeff Moriarty, I am Evo Terra. Thanks for enjoying the show.